So the goal of my VDL was to do something different. This practicum was an opportunity to take my work as an architect and elevate it, to really think about how biomimicry and certainly the biomimicry thinking methodology could advance and provide a new lens to the work that I do. I went about collecting data using an online program called the Easy Tool in order to collect specific data that ultimately forms those inputs for the design team. So we're standing on the Power to Be data collection area this afternoon. It's a beautiful summer day. This is an area of the site that I've identified as a disturbed portion of a piece of landscape. And specifically it's the project site for one of my architectural projects. And the intent is to really begin to look at and understand what the landscape attributes are in this place that contribute to ecosystem function. The hypothesis is that we can do so much more if our built environment is much more engaged with and interrelated with the natural world. We can see grasses on what was a former golf course site. We can see outcroppings of bedrock, which is very, very typical of Vancouver Island. We can also see variation in tree cover, which are all distinct attributes. And these gaps, these openness, these open spaces and these disturbances combined with these shaded areas create a really dynamic interface, which is something that we're trying to explore through using the Easy Tool. And as we explore these different attributes, it really helps us to understand how this ecosystem is functioning. And in understanding how the ecosystem is functioning, the opportunity exists for us to actually perhaps create a betterment. So in looking at a disturbed site, we're also going to look at a reference intact ecosystem, an adjacent ecosystem that is also on the subject property. So we're in the reference intact ecosystem, and as you can see, the structure is considerably more varied. There's a lot more texture, there's a lot more layering and complexity to the system. Heavy tree cover. Of course, light penetration is much different. Ground cover is considerably different. The complexity of even something as simple as the amount of debris on the ground and the accumulation of litter and duff adds to ecosystem function. My goals for this practicum were really to reframe the question, to bring new ideas to the design table and allow for a different lens, a different way of looking at the problem at hand. Really starting to think about the environment as a stakeholder. So the deliverable for the project is really a document that becomes a reference for the design team, and it really highlights the context of the site, the outputs that are attributed to the Easy Tool mapping that was done, including the definition of function and services. And it's looking at the intersection between what is an intact ecosystem and a disturbed ecosystem, and the delta in the various measurements that ultimately come out of the Easy Tool. This is going to be presented to my design team on this project, and it'll be part of the conversation. It'll be front row center, just as all the other normal business as usual elements contribute to the conversation. And I hope that it's something that all of my design teams anticipate and expect in the years to come. So hopefully it's kind of changing the conversation and how we're going to move forward.